Razum advocacy advocates for Ukraine's victory in actually a very, in some ways, very traditional way in American politics. On our government affairs team, we have people who are registered lobbyists. Greg is one of them. And their full-time job is walking around the halls of Congress, talking with members of Congress, talking with their staff, developing relationships, knowing that when something happens behind a closed door, maybe you'll get a text message from somebody who tells you, hey, they're thinking about doing this. You understand what the conversation is, and you understand then how to positively impact it, how to give people the right information to make the best decision. So that's one aspect of it, of doing things on the ground in person. We also do quite a lot of policy and media work, and that's where I spend much more of my time. And that's things like writing articles, writing op-eds, talking with the press, doing events like today in Washington. And this is to try to communicate ideas to the public, to shape the conversation, and to say, hey, there's an issue that maybe we're not talking about. A few months ago, we had a very good example. Now we've had positive steps on the change in U.S. policy, allowing Ukraine to use weapons supplied by the United States to strike inside of Russian territory. That policy has started to change. We would like to keep working to change it even more. But this was a very good example of how we do some of our work. We understood that this was an issue that people were starting to talk about in Washington more, and we saw an opportunity. We knew that there was serious military need, and when the Kharkiv offensive by the Russians began, that was such a clear case on the battlefield where a failure in U.S. policy was resulting in the loss of lives in Ukraine. And that made the case crystal clear to policymakers in America. We advocated to members of Congress, in the press, in events, and as soon, especially because of what happened on the ground here in Ukraine, because we had good information about it, whenever we were able to talk to policymakers about this, it seemed like common sense to them. They agreed very easily. And so we were able to help create a shift in this policy rather quickly. Now, it's something that we're going to continue advocating on using all of these methods, but I think that that's a good example, perhaps.